substituting for Mr. Tambuadco since he's still observing the 120-minute campaign limit that is a cap on congressional candidates. In this succeeding episodes, you have been witnessing student volunteers from the Legal Network for Truthful Elections who are educating us on campaign offenses, election offenses, among others, campaign limits, etc. And in this episode, we have Ms. Chai Beltran. Good evening, Chai. And also Robbie Ilagan. Welcome to the show, Robbie. Well, first of all, congratulations to the Legal Network for Truthful Elections because your executive director has been appointed as COMELEC Commissioner, so Attorney Louie Guia. What has been your experience with Attorney Louie Guia as the executive director of LENTE?
At first, you won't really feel that he's up there. He's really into you. Parang personal yung approach niya for the legal interns. Our first official work with him was the national briefing. He was conducting the talks regarding the offenses, and then kapag ini-invite siya, like for example, the DepEd or the COMELEC, he would bring us along so that we can see how he works. Tapos, the day after he was proclaimed, he even went to our office. And then, sabi nga namin, we were joking, sabi namin, Commissioner, it's dapat baliktad. We are the ones who would come to you, pero this time, siya pa rin yung lumalapit kasi his heart is really for LENTE. So,
what about you, Chai? What's your experience with Attorney Louie Guia, now Commissioner, COMELEC Commissioner Guia?
At first, I didn't know that he was the executive director of LENTE. Parang, sobrang down to earth niya kasi you wouldn't know, he wouldn't make you feel that you're just an intern. And he's really good with the talks that he's presenting, especially with the DepEd MOA signing last 2 weeks ago. He's really good with explaining campaign finance. He can make it appear that he can explain it in any other audience, not just for the teachers. He can do it with common people, making it a topic that's really understandable.
For anyone, so regardless of you yourselves, you're law students, so it will be easy for you, I guess, to understand legal matters. But for the non-lawyers, it takes a special kind of language to explain the law to them as well and make it relevant kasi it can be boring to other people, right? So, well, again, congratulations to LENTE now that you have a COMELEC Commissioner coming from LENTE. What do you expect will Attorney Guia do now as a COMELEC Commissioner?
Siguro, for us, kasi we know that his advocacies are really for equal opportunity and the accountability, especially accountability. So, si Attorney Guia naman, he's really straightforward when it comes to his advocacy. So, we're just expecting na the advocacy of LENTE will now be put on a larger scale, in a sense, and that every Filipino would know now. Not just the advocacy of LENTE when it comes to accountability, but sana beyond elections pa. Parang the accountability after elections, most importantly.
Alright, so, well, now let's go straight to our weekly partnership, which is to educate our viewers about campaign, election offenses, rather. I keep saying campaign kasi last week we discussed election offenses during the campaign period, and there's supposed to be a part 2. But we're going to go straight to election offenses that are committed during election day. And this year, our election day is May 13, 2013, so there will be voting, and then there will be offenses. But, you know, as you as volunteers would know that a lot of people are not aware of election laws, or that there are certain acts that are actually violations. So, let's start with that. What are the, top offenses, so to speak, that are committed on election day?
Yung first one is illegal voting. That, kasi we think that since it's automated elections, those who would want to circumvent the law would use the traditional way of cheating. For example, we have flying voters, unregistered voters. These kind of offenses would go under illegal voting, meaning either their names are written in the registry book twice, or that they are not really registered. For instance, they would use the names of the dead people or those who have double names. For instance, yung mga flying voters. That's the illegal voting part that normally begins at, as you've said, on May 13 kasi 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So, basically, yun yung unang-unang top election offense na pwedeng mangyari.
On election day. Yes. So, there's such a thing as illegal voting. Flying voters are committing an illegal act by voting, normally they vote twice. I would say in my experience, before there was automation, as you said, they'll use the names of the dead people, pretend that they're the dead person, and then vote on the dead person's behalf. Pero ngayon, the voters list is, I would understand, automated as well. Whose job is it to purge it or to clean it of, for example, the dead people or well, the dead people basically.
Kasi we were expecting COMELEC to have the biometric system already. However, they admitted naman that it won't be possible this coming election since there's a lot to accomplish pa. So we're using still the ID system and the thumb mark system. But again, we can't really make sure that no violation would be committed since most likely, if they would want to circumvent the law, they would do something about it. And the person who should check about that stuff is the BEIs or the Board of Election Inspectors. They should check whether or not such person is really the one written under the list. They should shout the name thrice on the said election day, and then if ever there is a challenge that would come from anybody that saying that he is not the person who was expected to be voting, then the challenge will be written down and no vote should be counted for such person.
So that person will not be allowed to vote, or he can
Yes.
vote pero i-strike out yung vote.
I think if it's proven na pag na-challenge kasi siya, once na nasabi na hindi siya yun, he should not be allowed to vote.
So he won't be allowed to vote. So it doesn't mean that he'll vote and then i-strike out
Kasi maka-count
subsequently.
pa rin siya if ever.
Especially kasi automated, diba? So what are the other election offenses that can be
Other
committed
election
on
offenses,
election day?
unlawful electioneering.
Unlawful electioneering.
so-
So can you define that?
You can campaign basically on the day of the election. So you can campaign for one person. It's not just the candidate, also any person who's campaigning for a candidate. So he can't solicit for votes. He can't give money. He can't give food or any other thing of value or transportation. It always happens kasi that there are candidates that they have given a ride to the voters to go to the polling place and then a ride home also. So that's not allowed during elections.
Okay, so it's called unlawful electioneering
Electioneering.
on the day. Basically, it's campaigning on election day, and that is prohibited. Anything of value that is given to a voter, or does that include also giving something of value to the election officers, for example, or the police officers, or just the voters?
I think it's also included, but you have to say that this is for the name of the candidate to fall under unlawful electioneering.
Okay, kasi in the past, what the candidates would do, or any government official, they'll sponsor the food, for example, of the teachers, because they're there the whole day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., as you said, and beyond that. So they're preparing before and after. So they give the food, pack lunch or pack dinner, tapos merong
the name.
sticker of
Yes,
may face. So
that's not allowed.
that's not allowed.
Yes.
At saka, what else you said? You cannot provide rides to your
Rides.
to your
It's
voters.
the common unlawful electioneering that's happening.
Okay, so that's not allowed. So even if a voter asks for transpo on election day, that's not, that's illegal.
That's
It's
illegal.
illegal to give them a free ride. Kasi you would think that that's in exchange for their votes.
Yes.
That's the assumption. Okay, so unlawful electioneering. Okay, what else are the offenses during election
We have
day?
vote buying and vote selling. We normally talk about it in our deployments, one after the other. Basically, it's not just the one who's buying who is violating, but of course the one who's selling the vote. It's not just money, number one. You can also promise, for example, employment. You can also promise food, like bigas. Normally kasi, especially when we were talking to the far barrios, hindi pera, bigas, normally, yero. You would believe that that's in exchange for their votes. And promises. For example, I would promise your barangay captain that if I win within your barangay, you would have 500,000 pesos fund for your barangay hall. Those promises, those grants are also considered election violations under vote buying. And it should be noted that such value are in exchange either to vote for that person or to vote against another person. So it's not just a positive act, it's also preventing them to vote for another. And when it comes to vote selling, as I've mentioned, it's not just the one who's buying, it's also the voters who are trying to sell. Kasi in some areas naman, the voters are the one who's asking from them. Parang sinasabi nila na, Mayor, bigyan mo kami ng ganito, I'll vote for you. That kind of soliciting is also prohibited and is considered a violation and an offense. Not just through money, again, anything of value, and any promise or any solicit, also considered vote buying, vote selling. And as we've mentioned, ito kasi yung rampant within the Philippines.
Yes,
It's
indeed.
the nature that hindi naman kami nahuhuli, the impunity, that they are not going to be punished, aggravates the violation. And with that, it became already a tradition and a culture during elections, since once every 3 years lang nangyayari yung election. So people tend to think that it's the only time that they can ask and
money.
for money, and then immediately it would be given to them, since for the next 3 years no election would be committed and no election would be conducted. So it's the only chance for people, for voters to ask, and for running candidates to also give. So it's really a very difficult task to prevent vote buying and vote selling.
These offenses that we're talking about, what are the consequences if in case there is a conviction? What are the, I mean, people may think that, yeah, it's an offense, but nothing's going to happen to me anyway. But what they don't know is that there's a consequence, right?
Yes. If it's under the Omnibus Election Code, the penalty would be 1 to 6 years.
Imprisonment.
Yes, imprisonment. And then, meron ding perpetual disqualification for running for public office. When it comes to the second automation law, it's 8 years to 12 years, plus the perpetual disqualification for public office, both elective and appointive. And for electoral sabotage naman, it's life imprisonment. I think, would you want to discuss electoral sabotage? Yung electoral sabotage kasi,
That's also an
election offense, yes.
Committed on election
it's
day.
the highest, parang it's the gravest kasi life imprisonment yung penalty niya. It's basically the winner was declared the loser, and then the losing candidate was declared the winner. That's the basic element of electoral sabotage. However, there are technicalities. If in one document, like a canvas of vote, 5,000 votes were tampered or it was used as the cheating mechanism, it will automatically be electoral sabotage in one document. However, if there are multiple documents, for instance, 2,000 lang yung tamper doon, but totality, it results to 10,000 votes, automatic electoral sabotage na rin siya. So, by that element, or that technicality, now we can use that to convict somebody, life imprisonment na yung penalty.
But you know, I'm in this day of automated elections, it's still possible to commit electoral sabotage. I mean, to tamper with that amount of votes. Is that even possible? I mean, I don't know if there's already been a conviction on electoral sabotage, but that has been a new law
Yes.
recently enacted also, and the first one to impose life imprisonment, which is a pretty serious penalty for an election offense. So, it can still happen. That's what
Yes.
the lawmakers are telling us.
Last year, actually, something happened with regard to electoral sabotage. I'm not sure which municipality, but what happened was there was an error for the transmission of the card. So what the BIs did was to physically transport the microchip to the municipal level. However, what they neglected was the ballots themselves. So yung mga candidates that probably they were thinking they're gonna lose, they took the ballots and then shaded other circles. So nagdoble-doble. So technically, they were saying that the PCOS machine was wrong, that there are two shaded areas, so dapat null and void yung votes nila. What they did not know was meron palang image sensor yung PCOS machine that once you feed the ballot, kumukuha siya ng image. So it was verified that upon entry of the ballot, isa lang yung shaded part. So nahuli sila that they were trying to sabotage the election, that after pa nila ma-feed, saka nila nilagay ng shade. So
That's considered electoral
yes, electoral sabotage. As they dismissed the case, that as they were reprimanded. I don't know if the case prospered. We're not really sure, but something happened last 2010 election. So, it's not true that they don't get punished. They do get punished, and as far as LENTE is concerned, we're trying to stop such impunity and such mindset na hindi sila napaparusahan.
You know, as you said, very rampant vote buying and vote selling on election day. But we are also conditioned to think that, or at least in the provinces, like even me, where I come from, people expect envelopes the eve of the elections. And bihira yung promises eh. Promises probably to someone that you will look forward to working with once you're elected. Then you promise something like, as you said, yero or scholarship maybe, or a job with the municipality or in government, ganyan. Pero mostly vote buying, and the difficulty is the envelope comes, there's money inside it, but you cannot trace it from the candidate, but you're supposed to know who it is from. That's why you vote for that person. So, and the other parties will also do that. Yung mga magkakalaban, they also give envelopes to the voters. I don't know if it will be as rampant this year, this coming elections, because I think LENTE is also doing a good job about raising awareness that vote buying is a criminal offense. So may pagkakakulong. I mean, you will get sent to jail, both the buyer and the seller, if you get caught and convicted. But as you said, mahirap lang i-trace. I think it is quite a challenge to prove it in court. But it's good that at least people know they'll be more careful. And some people think that maybe it's okay to accept the money, but not to vote for the person who's giving the money. I don't know. I mean, I think it is also a moral issue. I mean, aside from being a legal issue, but we don't know how voters will react this coming elections. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. You were offered to be for your vote to be your voting age because you're already in law school.
So
But
we always tell them that we do what we can, but it's also their decision if they're voting for a candidate who gives them money. So we're telling them that syempre babawiin nila yan come the day when they're elected. So gusto nyo ba ng kandidatong ganun? Gusto nyo ba ng public official na magnanakaw sa kaban ng bayan? So that's what we tell them.
yes, and as you said, babawiin siya if this person gets elected. And it's a myth to think that you can only ask for money from candidates or from elected officials on election period. Actually, you can ask for help, and they're supposed to help the people, I believe, during their term. So if there's really a specific need and it falls under the mandate of that officer, of that official, then you can approach them anytime. It cannot be just on election day. Although I've heard naman on the side of the politicians, some people also fake it. Meron ding illegal, not only illegal voting, but also illegal solicitation. They fake their residence. They say that they're from the municipality of Mayor. Ganyan, they approach the mayor. They fake even yung mga sakit. So they claim they have this and that ailment when in fact they don't, and then they get the money. So it's really a two-way street. So as hindi lang candidates yung who commit this offense, also the voters should be aware that these are offenses, and there's always a consequence, di ba? So we're going to talk more about election offenses when we return right here on Talk to Harry with LENTE.